Lily looked up at her, utterly captivated. "You're very beautiful, like a queen," she whispered, oblivious, still clutching her teddy bear tightly. However, her small fingers instinctively tightened their hold on Teddy, a subtle, nascent seed of unease perhaps finally stirring within her. A flicker of something akin to annoyance, quickly masked by her predatory instinct, crossed Nyxira's features. Such pure innocence was almost frustrating. It was too easy. The thrill of the chase, the subtle dance of fear and seduction, was absent. Yet, the hunger, raw and demanding, overshadowed all else. It demanded to be sated. Nyxira leaned in even closer, her refined face mere inches from Lily's. The child could feel the icy breath against her cheek and catch the faint, ancient aroma of the woman's perfume. It opened with top notes of violet and strawberry, the heart-revealed Turkish rose, and the base notes comprised agarwood, oud, vanilla, amber, benzoin, caramel, and cedar. The fragrance encapsulated Nyxira's dark sophistication and enigmatic allure. Lily's eyes, no longer merely curious, began to show the faintest hint of comprehension, a dawning, fragile fear. She finally saw the true, unmasked brilliance in Nyxira's shadowed gaze, the chilling, ruby glow that promised more than just beauty. "And you, Lily," Nyxira murmured, her voice a seductive whisper, an intoxicating lullaby, a silken promise of oblivion. "You are a vision of innocence, and perhaps a most delectable one." Her gaze fixated on the delicate flutter of the child's pulse at the base of her neck, an unmistakable beat of life, a silent, tantalizing invitation. Lily's breath caught in her throat. Her tiny hand, still clutching Teddy, began to tremble involuntarily. Her once innocent face contorted, her jade eyes brimming with unshed tears, betraying her mounting fear. Lily tried to squirm away, but Nyxira held her still. "Don't be afraid, little one," she continued, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "You're the icing, the honey, the cherry on top." Lily stared blankly at the captain, her eyes wide. Nyxira, sensing the girl's confusion, let out a laugh that sounded like a hyena. Her laughter slowly turned into a predatory grin. The mistress of the night bared her fangs and hissed a playful tease. Lily's small world, already tilting on its axis, lurched violently. The beautiful woman, the queen, was gone, replaced by something ancient and monstrous. Those perfectly white teeth, so recently hidden, now stretched into needle-sharp points, glinting in the dim light. The hiss, a sound entirely alien and terrifying, seemed to vibrate through her very bones. It was a promise of pain. A raw, piercing shriek tore from Lily's throat, a sound so desperate and primal it seemed to strip the air of oxygen. Her small body convulsed, a desperate, futile attempt to escape the grip that held her surprisingly firm. Teddy dropped from her suddenly limp fingers, hitting the floor with a soft thud, a casualty of her terror. Her jade eyes, now wide and unfocused, reflected the monstrous image of Nyxira, not as a beautiful woman, but as a predator. Nyxira's expression, however, softened in a twisted parody of affection. The predatory grin remained, but a glint of perverse pleasure danced in her ruby eyes. Ah, there it was. The exhilarating thrill of pure terror. The heady scent of the child's fear, sharp and sweet, mingled with the intricate perfume that clung to Nyxira, creating a macabre, intoxicating blend. "There's my little songbird," Nyxira purred, her voice a low, guttural rumble beneath the false sweetness. "Sing for me, little one. Sing your fear. It's the sweetest melody of all." Her pale, slender fingers, tipped with perfectly manicured, sharp nails, trailed down Lily's arm, a feather-light touch that felt like ice. Lily whimpered, her shriek dissolving into choked sobs, her small frame trembling uncontrollably as she felt the true depth of the horror that had ensnared her. The ancient hunger in Nyxira's eyes deepened, reflecting a boundless, dark desire. Nyxira removed her hand from the child's chin, only to settle it with slow, deliberate grace upon her little shoulders, forcefully pushing Lily down on her knees and then onto her back. The Queen of Night spoke. In the shadowed depths of the eternal starlight gloom, I reign supreme, empress of the witching hour, blood huntress of the azure sea. My voice echoes through the darkened waves, a silent promise of vengeance and eternal sovereignty. No light can pierce my darkness, no foe can escape my reach. I am the whisper in the storm, the blood in the tide, and the darkness that forever consumes the dawn. And you, my precious, shall become part of the endless night, forever bound to the shadows from which I reign. The mistress of shadows delicately lifted Lily's chin, unveiling her throbbing veins with an air of quiet authority. Just as Nyxira's head tilted, her fangs poised to descend, a sudden, sharp creak of the tavern's front door echoed through the silence. The sound was like a thunderclap, shattering the intimate, deadly tableau. Nyxira froze, her enhanced senses flaring. The delicate scent of the child's blood was instantly eclipsed by the rougher, stronger scent of a large man, accompanied by the clatter of heavy boots on the worn floorboards. A gruff, anxious voice boomed into the tavern, heavy with a mixture of relief and irritation. "Lily, blast it all, child. I told you to stay put." Lily, startled by the familiar sound, let out a tiny, relieved sob.
"Papa,"
she squeaked, wriggling slightly in Nyxira's tenacious grasp. Nyxira's eyes, still glowing with an ancient hunger, snapped towards the door. Her obsidian lips, still parted, slowly curled back into their familiar, predatory smirk, but now it was tinged with a furious, frustrated edge. The moment was lost. The feast, so exquisitely poised, had been ripped away. She released Lily's chin, her hand dropping with a subtle, controlled jerk. A burly, pallid-faced sailor, his beard speckled with silver, entered the dimly illuminated tavern, his eyes methodically scanning the shadowed chamber. When they settled on Lily, his gaze then fixated on the tall, ominous figure looming over her. The initial wave of relief on his face swiftly contorted into suspicion and wariness. Without hesitation, his hand instinctively reached for the hilt of the cutlass at his hip. Nyxira, with a fluid, almost imperceptible movement, melted back into the deeper shadows of the alcove, becoming one with the gloom. Her wide-brimmed hat, previously a veil, now seemed to absorb her entirely. Only a faint, lingering shimmer of crimson in the darkest corner hinted at her presence. "Lily," the man roared again, his voice echoing with fear now. He rushed forward, scooping the trembling child into his arms. "What in the seven seas are you doing in here? And who is that?" He looked around wildly, his eyes straining to pierce the darkness, but Nyxira was gone. The only sound was the child's small, relieved whimpers against his chest. Nyxira watched them unseen. Her fangs slowly retracted, a subtle pressure receding from her lips. The sapphire gem in her choker pulsated faintly, mirroring her frustration and simmering fury within her. The hunger, still gnawing, felt sharper now, more insistent, a direct result of being denied. The sweetness of the hunt had turned bitter, the exquisite meal snatched from her very grasp. The map, still splayed on the scarred oak table, seemed to mock her with its distant horizons. Her next voyage, her next hunt, would need to be swift, decisive, and far, far away from any lost children or their protective fathers. The whispering siren had almost sung its darkest song tonight, but the dawn would bring only the restless stirrings of a thwarted predator, planning her next, ruthless kill. She retreated deeper into the tavern's hidden passages, a phantom in the breeze. Nyxira's exit was not merely a retreat, it was a dissolution. The shadows welcomed her, absorbing her form until she was nothing more than a ripple in the inky blackness that clung to the tavern's forgotten corners. She glided through unseen cracks, up warped stairs, and across dust-laden rafters, her movement silent as a falling feather. The thud of the father's heavy boots, the frantic thrum of his heartbeat, the lingering scent of Lily's fear, all faded, replaced by the cool, stale air of the tavern's hidden arteries. She emerged onto the deserted docks, the vast, inky expanse of the azure sea stretching before her, mirroring the dark hunger in her soul. The salt-laced wind whipped tendrils of her dark hair around her face, but her expression remained perfectly composed, save for the faintest tightening around her lips. The taste of denial was a bitter tang on her tongue, sharper than any iron tang of blood. Lily had been perfect, so tender, so pure, her fear an unmarred symphony. And that father, a crude, unrefined brute who dared to disrupt her sacred ritual. Such audacity was irritating, a fly buzzing around a queen. She could have dispatched him, of course, with a flick of her wrist, but the scene would have been spoiled, the delicate flavor of the hunt tainted by unnecessary effort and mundane violence. Her meals were meant to be exquisite, unhurried, a dance of terror and consumption, not a brawling spectacle. Her ruby eyes, still faintly aglow, swept over the bobbing ships in the harbor. Distant lights twinkled from the town, but her gaze was drawn to the dark open sea. The map, indeed. A lesson learned, a new strategy forged. She needed isolation, a canvas of pure darkness where her artistry could flourish undisturbed. A slow, chilling smile unfurled on her lips, devoid of warmth but brimming with renewed purpose. "Yes," she whispered, her voice a soft caress against the night wind, "the dawn shall bring a new hunt. Far from the watchful eyes of men, where the deep waters hold secrets and the unsuspecting drift to their final, silent slumber." Her gaze hardened, reflecting the cold, merciless gleam of the moon on the waves. The hunger was a keen blade, honed by negation, and Nyxira, the blood huntress, would soon find her true feast. The Azure Sea was vast, and somewhere within its endless embrace, a ship, a soul, a destiny awaited her dark pleasure. Tonight, the ocean's song was an altered, haunting melody, a symphony woven from deep, ancient currents that whispered of forgotten legends. The sea, infinite and enigmatic, guards its sacred secrets with relentless veiled mystery, revealing only what it chooses to unveil to those daring enough to listen. To catch the subtle murmur of the wind's secrets, one must possess an unwavering patience and a keen, discerning ear, for the whispers carry the weight of worlds unseen. Unbeknownst to her, every ounce of her past experience had been but a faint echo compared to the storm of destiny that awaited. As the waves crashed with renewed fervor and the celestial sky shimmered with a shadowed, foreboding glow, she stood on the precipice of an epic odyssey, one that would test her courage, unravel ancient mysteries, and challenge the very fabric of her soul. The journey was about to begin, and the sea's legendary call beckoned her into the unknown. But what secrets would she uncover when the first light dawned?